Well, I'd like to get us started. I know we got a few people here. We'll have some more joining us. A couple things I just wanted to mention. I just wanted to thank everyone that's online and those that aren't that helped us pull off an amazingly successful 31st annual Solar Boat Regatta. We had a wonderful event in Eden Prairie. Just the kids really enjoyed it. We had the solar car there from the University of Minnesota, which the kids really enjoyed. Had some great pizzas supplied by one of our sponsors, and just had a wonderful day. And what made it so special compared to a lot of them we've had in the past is the fact that it was a beautiful day. Instead of people racing out when it was over, everybody was kind of hanging around and talking and everything. So that was really nice. But that was a nice event. So thanks to all of those that are here that were part of that, because that your help really helped us make it a success. The second thing I just wanted to bring up is that we have this major event coming up that MRES has been involved with for a number of years called the Eco Experience. And I think most of you are aware of what that is, but we're very, very much in need of volunteers to help us pull that off. It's 12 days of intense 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We need a lot of volunteers, and if you're interested, you can go on our MRES website and sign up to become a volunteer. A shift will get you a nice ticket to the fair and a T-shirt if you don't already have one. And it's just a great experience. And we are having a few new items and some from the last couple years. And we're actually really looking forward to this one. We're going to bring back the MRES tiny house, which has always been a lot of interest. That's a tiny house on a trailer that has 4 different types of solar on it. And then if you participate as a volunteer, we're asking people to show up on August 16th for training over at Mayflower Church to learn about what's needed to, for them to, be a good volunteer at the state fair. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact us or just go on our website and sign up for a lot of fun. It really is. It's one of those things where you if you haven't been to the fair in a while, it's a great experience, and everybody's happy to be back after the COVID thing. So, well, with the special honors, I want to welcome Justin Partry to our speaker lead tonight. Justin, I met him. I think we have talked in the past, but I got to talk to him at a recharge event down in Mankato, and he did an awesome presentation. And then I said, boy, I would love you to share that with more people through our MRES speaker presentation. And he was kind enough to agree to do that. So he's going to be speaking tonight. He leads the overall strategy for electric vehicles and member program engagement at Conexus, and is just got I think, a very interesting and exciting story to share with us. So with that said, Justin, would you take it from there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. And hello to everyone out there from the computer screen, from mine to yours. Hello. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to share some of the visions that we have here at Conexus Energy and how we're looking and planning for the future. As we all know, EV growth is here, so it's solar growth for our members, and a lot of people are worried about it. I think it's for us at Conexus. We are excited about the growth that's coming, and we're taking it head on and trying to plan for it and do what's best for our members. So we'll get started. Just a little bit about Conexus Energy. So we are located in Ramsey, Minnesota. We are the largest electric co-op that's member owned here in the state of Minnesota. And then and that says third largest of all electric utilities. But when you look at the member owned co-op piece, we are the largest. We're small but mighty, 217 employees. So when you think about, oh, you're the biggest, it's not that big if we only have 217 employees, when you think about 140 of them are linemen that are out working lines and making sure that our members have electricity. Our territory there, as you can see there on the screenshot piece, is just a little bit of Hennepin County, but mainly your Anoka County and Sherburne County over there. So basically, when people ask us, so where is Connexus? Well, headquartered in Ramsey, our territory goes basically from the St. Cloud Airport all the way to Marino and St. Croix, and then it goes up to some of the bigger cities there. So we cover Blaine and Coon Rapids and places like that, up to Princeton and Cambridge too. So that's a little bit about us at Connexus and what we do. And as Doug said, what I do at Connexus is I lead our strategy for electric vehicles and then also all of our member programming. So whether it's commercial or residential, my team is in charge of figuring out how we get people enrolled to help them save money. Connexus is a nonprofit. And so anytime we make money, we share it with our members at the end of the year in the form of cash back, which is always a fun thing. When I was hired at Connexus, I was asked to bring in a sales mentality. I am a sales guy. I have been a sales guy for many years, and that's where my career has always led me, but never in this industry. So when I was hired at Connexus, they didn't want someone who had worked in the electric industry before because they wanted a whole different approach to how we look at things. And so usually when you say sales, people kind of get weary. But what they said to me was, your goal in this whole sales process is to reduce what our members pay us, which as a sales guy, that's completely backwards. But I think for me, it made it a lot of fun. And so it's a lot of partnerships and things like that, especially with our large electric company or electric members that are out there trying to figure out how to best use the energy, the smartest way to use it, and helping them upgrade their systems. So we'll get into the talk about here. So let's talk about member growth
Justin,
and investing.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
before you get
Yes, sir.
started, what about questions? Do you want people to raise their hand or wait till the end, or?
Thank you, Doug. Well, so it's kind of hard sometimes to see if people raise their hand. So honestly, if someone wants to interrupt me when you have a question, I am perfectly fine with that. Interactive is the way I like to do things. So if we can play it that way, you got a question, just ask it, and I'll try to answer it the best I can. If I can't, I'll come back to you and I'll take a note. I do have a notepad here beside me, and we'll try to get an answer to your questions.
All righty, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Grab this pen. All right, so let's talk about how our members are investing in this new technology for EVs and also for rooftop solar. So I got some interactive pieces here, so let's see if this works. So as you can see, 2013, we see very few dots. Left side of my screen, rooftop solar, and the right side is electric vehicles. So I'll just tell you there's 19 dots there in 2013. So that's kind of where we started in the rooftop solar piece. So as we move forward to 2016, it increases a little more by the time we get to 2019. And then when I bump 2022, it explodes. And most of the time, what people think is, oh, the electric utility, they don't like solar because that's members generating their own electricity and they're not buying it from us. That is completely wrong in the co-op industry. For us, we encourage our members, if they feel and have just that, whatever the reason, I've heard many different reasons, but whatever the reason they want to do solar, whether it's to reduce their bill from us, whether it's to save Mother Earth, those kind of things, or it's a mix between all of them, we encourage our members to do what they feel is right for their home and for their needs. And really what it comes down to is the solar growth is causing us to purchase less kilowatt hours to meet the needs of all of our members. So it's helping us save money as a co-op, which in turn saves money for our members. And I'll get more into the solar piece here in just a little bit, but let's look at the maps for the EV piece. So as you can see, EV in 2013, there's only 5. There were some early adopters out there of those first Teslas that came into town. As we go to 2016, it starts to increase, but you can tell it's more around the metro area. It's there just north of the Twin Cities area. 2019, we had a big growth, and that's where, I'm sorry, that jumped straight to 22. But so it showed there's still a big increase of EVs around that metro area. And that's because that's where people are living. They're moving out to the suburbs, but they're still traveling into downtown for work, things like that. But the thing that I am excited about is in the more rural areas of our territory, we're seeing more electric vehicle adoption. And I think as the Ford F-150s become more popular, these Rivians, and maybe one day that Tesla Cybertruck, more and more rural communities will start using these electric vehicles for the power that they give, and then also just the ease. Education is still a big piece of it, and so we'll go through some of that too here in just a few slides. And I'll stop there. Any questions on the end of this real quick? Hearing none, we'll move forward. So solar installed for our members. So what are we looking at? Well, it's not a huge number, to be honest with you. We serve 150,000 members. And so that's basically 150,000 different meters that are out there. It could be 1 meter at a house, and then their shop could have another meter, but 150,000 meters is what we got. But currently we only have 880 solar systems in our service territory. But those 880 solar systems are generating just over 9,000 kW, and they're saving Conexus almost 12 million kilowatt hours. So we are not buying 12 million kilowatt hours to resell to our members. We're saving that money, which helps us tremendously. Now, one thing we do offer for our members, if they generate more electricity than what they use, or if they don't have battery backup or things like that to save them, we will purchase them for the price that they pay for their kilowatt hours. Which, if you think about it, when we buy electricity from a G&T, someone who's generating that power for us to resell, we're paying pennies for it. But when we purchase it from our members, we're giving them the same value that they would pay for those kilowatt hours that they were getting from us. So it ends up being a really good deal for them. And it's good. So, and as a co-op, good for our members is good for us. Just to show you some of the growth so far is last year we had 315 total done. And through 3/1, we had 56 completed, 49 in progress. This number now today through 6/1, as we look 3 months later, we have 108 that are in progress and 294 that have been completed. So we're already at our number from last year, and we just got 6 months to go. It's almost becoming a full-time job for someone on my team that's manhandling this piece and following and tracking and making sure that we're in touch with the solar contractors, we're in touch with our members to make sure, you know, everything is done by the book. One thing we don't want to do is we don't want a solar system to be connected to our lines and we don't know about it. That's for protection of our employees. So if I have a lineman that's back, they know that that transformer has solar on it. That's what's important for us. If the lines are out, most solar is not gonna do anything anyway. That's the other misinformation that they get. And the other piece is really, you're still going to get the Conexus bill. You're still connected to the lines in 99.9% of the cases. They're not going completely off grid. And so, you know, if someone's out there thinking about getting solar and you have a contractor that says you'll never see a bill from your utility again, be wary. They're not telling you the full truth. But for solar itself, we encourage our members to do it if that's what they want to do. So why are we seeing the increase? Well, boots on the ground for sure. There's people in our area that are selling solar and they're doing a good job. There are a lot of good contractors out there that we're seeing, that we're working with, have great relationships with, and they're doing everything by the book, which is good for us, good for you as a homeowner and as a generator of electricity there at your home. Also pricing's coming down. Solar systems are getting so much more affordable than they were 5 years ago. It's just like any technology that we see, the price starts going down and getting better and better. So we're seeing that. And then rebate wise, so there's a lot of electric utilities that don't give rebates for the reason I mentioned earlier of you're going to install this, you're not going to buy electricity from us anymore. Well, that's not the way we look at it. However, we do offer a $100 rebate, and you're thinking, $100 isn't that much. Does it really matter? Well, when we didn't do it, we were still getting so many more, and the trend hasn't changed in terms of growth. It's gotten bigger, but it's still about on the same type of trend that we were seeing years ago before we offered the $100 rebate. The $100 rebate basically is your fees for your application refunded to you. So it's a $100 application fee. Once you get the system installed, then we'll give you the $100 back in terms of a rebate. Reason for that rebate piece is, as a co-op here in the state of Minnesota, we have a goal to save so many kilowatt hours. And I'll just tell you, for this year, it's almost 28 million kilowatt hours. And so that's where these solar systems are really helping us too, is giving us that leg up on that 12 million kilowatt hours there. And you giving the rebate, we're able to use those savings pieces. Is there any questions on this slide? Okay. So what are we doing at Conexus in terms of adding solar outside of what our members are doing? Well, currently we have around 10 megawatts of solar production. And I love this picture because it's got some snow on the ground. Everything's still clear. We're still producing power there. And you see those boxes there, those are 5 megawatts of battery storage. So what we do is we fill those batteries up, we use that power and save it until electricity is the most expensive, and then we throw it back onto the grid to save our members money. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to save roughly $2 million a year just by having this backup power, this stored power that we generate for little of nothing that we can put back on the grid so our members save money. We're not buying those really, really expensive kilowatt hours during the peak. And so what we're doing now is we are expanding our solar gardens. We're going to add more with every other year. We're going to plan to add more solar gardens. We're looking at partnerships with some of our larger commercial members for rooftop, or if they have a lot of land and they're looking at adding some solar there too, that we can partner with them and help build it and do it. All of our new solar now is on a rotating axis. So it moves with the sun, which has about a 35% better capture rate than just your standard facing direction solar. Another quick thing about Conexus is starting January 1 of this year, we left our G&T, Great River Energy in Maple Grove. And when I say we left them, we were an owner of them, just like the other 28 co-ops here in the state. And we left that ownership piece and became a customer. So we're still buying power from them, but we're not in the ownership piece. And a big part of that was because with that ownership piece, we had already hit our limit that they imposed on us for our own solar generation. We found that we can generate solar energy way cheaper than we can buy it. So we, in a decision for our membership and to save our members money, we decided to leave that contract of paying one of the most expensive energy costs through Great River Energy and moving over to being a customer and renegotiating that deal and expanding our solar capabilities. And so for 23-24, we're already in talks with a couple of different companies, and we're looking at adding that an extra 10 megawatts with the 5 to 8 megawatts of battery storage year over year as we expand that piece. We have a list of so many different locations that are in our territory that are great for solar. And so we have an abundance of land. And that's one thing about a rural area of rural Minnesota, just north in our territory, that helps us to add this piece of it. So what else are we doing with it? Well, as a nonprofit, we generate this solar power. We also generate solar RECs. So we have been helping members come up with a sustainability plan, which it's making more and more sense to these businesses as their customers are asking about it. Now, we've had some that our customers, they sell items to John Deere tractors, to Walmart, to places like that. They're saying you need to generate and make our products with 100% solar energy or green power. Instead of installing a $350,000 solar garden on top of their roof or in their parking lot, they've come to us and say, what do we do? So we generate these solar RECs, which are renewable energy credits, and instantly can meet their sustainability goals basically with the click of the button. Now, we do charge for these. These are also available to our members, residential and commercial. And we're doing actually some really cool things with them. We've developed a residential solar club where you could join the club as a residential member for $120 a year. Your entire usage at the energy at your home is offset by solar, and we will retire RECs in your name and send you a certificate each year that says exactly that. Some other fun things that we're doing just with solar and solar RECs is Invictus Brewery. Invictus is in Blaine, Minnesota, and we have partnered with them because every single, you see all the sunflowers here, every single solar garden that we have is pollinator friendly. So we have pollinator friendly plants throughout the entire facility, and right now it's beautiful. Flowers are blooming, bees are buzzing, and we have bee farmers that are out there with honeybees. So we're collecting honey at each of these sites. You can come to our facility there in Ramsey and get you a jar if you need one. But also with Invictus Brewery in Blaine, and I have a can here because I will say, I think you can see that maybe. That should look familiar because that's our territory. We are the only electric utility in the world, I'm going to say world because that's what it is, that's referenced on a beer can. And what this talks about is how our solar energy is producing energy for our members, but also bee habitats and pollinator friendly habitats to where we're collecting honey. And this 1.7 million megawatt British summer ale with solar grown honey is available in stores now. And it's, like I said, from Invictus Brewing. So it's got a really colorful front. So you can see it there if you're at one of the shops that may have something like that. So it's just thinking outside the box of how solar energy can be good for our members, good for our community, and then help generate more pollinator friendly locations. So that's kind of a fun thing that we're doing with the solar piece of it. My next slide goes into electric vehicles and what we're looking at and our thoughts there. So are there any questions on the solar piece or Solar Rex or anything like that before I move on?
Hey, Justin,
Yes, sir.
can you mention to people, I think when I was up there at one of the meetings, you actually had a farmer bringing in animals to mow down the pollinator gardens on a rotating basis. Is that still happening?
Yes, sir. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, we partner with some farmers that have goats and sheeps. I don't guess sheeps is plural, but goats and sheep, and they bring them to our facilities, let them run loose, and they eat everything that's out there, and regenerate everything, and it all starts growing back pretty and beautiful. And we just do it toward the end of the year, before snow sets. We try to get in there and do that, so we don't have to use no chemicals. We don't use any chemicals whatsoever. Every now and then, if it's hard for us to get a hold of the farmer or fill out the full facility, we are able to, on our rotating axis solar panels, we're able to go straight up with them to run a tractor down, but we're not mowing all the way down to the ground. So there's still some food there for those animals. But yes, we are still doing that. And it's fun to just see the little sheep just run everywhere crazy and go to town just eating everything that they see. So it's a lot of fun and an easy, good way to clean everything up and keep it at a certain level. All right, moving on. So let's talk electric vehicles. I am an electric vehicle driver, so an EV driver, and I enjoy it. And a lot of people ask me questions about it. And that's really one of the reasons I have an EV, is because I work for the electric company. I have to talk about them, so I should be able to use one and understand it to make it easy. So for Conexus in general, we have 697, so almost 700 EVs in our territory that are on our program. Last year, we added 216 through 6/1. We're already at 96 new ones this year. So what does that mean? That means that one of our members who has an EV, or 697 of them, has called us and they have installed a secondary meter on their home, and they are charging overnight for half the price of what their actual kWh is for the rest of their home. And so the big piece there is getting members to charge overnight. As it sits right now, if we can have members charge their cars overnight, and think of it like a cell phone, you charge your cell phone at night, same thing with your car. Wake up in the morning, you're ready to go with both your cell phone and your vehicle, and you're doing good things, because that's when energy is the cheapest for us and for our members. So that's where we've developed the programs. We are fully aware that if, say, we get 30,000 EVs and they're all charging overnight, that could move our peak to that time frame, especially with the growth of solar energy generating so much during the day and not using it most likely during our peak. So we're running models and trying to figure out scripts and different things to figure out, okay, if we get to that point, how do we manage it, and how do we partner with our members to do something different to charge here and there? And it's still in the works. I mean, right now, overnight is really what we're about for the EV piece, and that's when you can get the best price. Why the growth? I think these are pretty self-explanatory. Every one of us probably understands these. These fuel prices are still increasing. Lots of cool EV models that are coming out. Some beautiful ones that can fit the whole family, and then some really sporty ones that are coming out too. So it's becoming EVs for everyone. The car values are going down, the used ones are starting to come out too, and all of these different tax incentives that are available for new and used EVs have just been passed by the Minnesota legislature. EV range is increasing. That is still something we hear about a lot, that the education piece of driving an electric vehicle and how it's a little different. And I think once the range increases past the 400-mile mark, it probably won't be as big of an issue. But I think our focus for 23 really helps that whole issue, is we are working with traditional gas stations. So in your holidays, quick trips, those kind of things, and helping them work to become fueling stations. So we're trying to figure out how we can help them with that. A lot of times it's, well, how do you help us with paying for $100,000 DC fast charger? DC fast charger makes the most sense because their goal is to get you in and out so the next person can come in. While you're charging, you'll buy a pop, or a bag of chips or whatever it is. And then you finish charging and then you leave. This sign here is from a gas station in Denver, Colorado. And that's really where we're trying to figure out how we help these traditional gas stations become fuelless stations, to have something like this to show we're here for all of our customers, every customer with a big EV there, to figure out how to get them their fueling needs, no matter what it is, whether it's petrol or electricity with the kilowatt hour piece. And so that's really where our focus has been shifted to on the commercial side, is helping these members figure out the best bang for their buck in terms of adding DC fast chargers. And so there's a lot of different incentives out there, and we've been trying to work with our legislators here in the state to say, hey, you have a surplus, you have all these different incentives, no interest loans for these small mom and pop convenience stores, so they can help make this transition to keep up with their customer needs. We haven't really gotten anywhere on that, but we're still working. We're not giving up, because EV growth is coming, and this is really what makes it easy for our members if we can try to get a plan going with that. We are showing the projections based on what we're seeing, that by 2025, we'll have over 3,000 EVs in our territory. So when we look at projections and those numbers, the Department of Transportation gives us numbers based on registration. And so they have told us we have just over 1,100 EVs in our territory today based on registration data. So we almost have 700 of those registered on our program and enrolled, charging for half the price. So that's just over 63% capture rate. When I've given this talk to other groups and to other co-ops and even other electricity companies, they are astounded that we have a 63% capture rate. And I think that's because we've had programs since 2013 in terms of electric vehicles for charging, but we also make sure our members know about them. So they're on bill messages, they're on social, they're on all these different pieces where we're trying to reach our member to let them know, you can install this charger, you can get on our program, and you can charge for half the price. So a couple of different things is just making sure they're aware. And so that's what we're trying to do. And I think for us, and our marketing manager is not on this call, but they are doing a great job in making sure that our members know what options are out there. And speaking of options, we've kind of taken a new approach, a new school, so old school, new school approach to how charging at home, which is still 80% of the time our members are charging at home instead of using DC fast chargers or the Tesla superchargers or things like that. So for old school piece, we still have the time of use rate, which has been around since 2013. Pricing is different depending on the time of day you charge. Cheapest, of course, being overnight, but it still allows you to charge if you need to charge anytime during the day. Of course, again, overnight is the cheapest. A new school way of looking at it is a tiered subscription rate. And so this goes back to that cell phone mentality piece. We're used to paying one price for a cell phone plan, and that's it. So that's what we're trying to do here. And so we did a pilot program to where it was a single price for unlimited nighttime use. We did have some members that I don't want to say took advantage of it, but they used a lot of electricity. And so for that part wasn't great for our membership. So we had to come up with a tiered system. So for this year, we were able to get passed through our board of directors, which is member elected and their members. We have a tier 1 for $30 a month, up to 600 kWh a month of off peak. So that's 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. usage. And then tier 2, it's $50 a month for that 1200 kWh of that same off peak usage from 9 to 9. With that, we were able to see members, the biggest thing that they've told us, like we have members that are paying $30 a month and not using even close to 600 kWh. So we call them and say, hey, you should go on the time of use. It's going to then pay for what you use. It'll cost less. And actual feedback we've gotten is, no, I want to know exactly what my monthly charge is. I'm charging overnight. I'm not charging any other time. Even though I'm not. I know it's $30. It's going to be $30 no matter what. I'm good with that. So it's kind of astounding that comfort piece of having that tier 1, that subscription rate and that feel, because it's what people are used to. That's kind of the direction everything else has gone. And so that's why we created it. And it's when we did do it and split the dollars and stuff, 56% of the people that were in on the pilot program were on the T1 rate structure. And so a lot of people say, well, there's no way you can be on the T1 rate structure for $30 a month if you have a Tesla Model X. And I would disagree with that. I think there's other charging options that, if you need it, they're out there. There's still a lot of Teslas out there that have unlimited charging. So a lot of those members are still doing supercharging because it doesn't cost them anything. But then they can do it at home and not have to worry about going to a supercharger, and it's $30 a month. That's a lot less than those gas bills that we all had before electric vehicles came to fruition. So, but like I said, the pilot rule, we had to establish those kWh limit rules mainly because there were some that were getting a little extra power and not paying as much for it. That happens from time to time with the pilot program, and so that's what we learned. We're continuing to learn on this program, and so I can't guarantee that next year it's going to stay 30 and 50, or the times as we've changed over from Great River Energy and those kind of things. We're evolving as a company and trying to figure out what's best for our members and how to get them on board and do what's right for them. So the way we look at it though is with an old school or new school way, we have a rate plan for every EV driver. And that's really what it's about for us, is making sure of that.
Hey, Justin.
Yes, sir.
Does it cost to get onto the program for the extra meter?
No, I am so glad you asked that. I should have put that in here. So we provide the meter for free. The secondary meter is free. The only charge that you have is the installation piece, which you're going to be paying for installation of the charger itself too. The one thing that we do offer, and I didn't put this on there either, so thank you so much for asking this question, is that joining our program, installing that secondary meter, we give up to a $500 rebate just for doing that as well. And so sometimes that doesn't offset the complete cost, but there are times where, if you spend $1,000, you'll get a full $500 rebate. And so that's a little extra help that you can make up with your gas savings from purchase.
Does it require a level 2 charger?
It is, yes. It is a level 2 charger for the most efficient. And
because in my case, I have an older car and I just let it go with 120 level 1 charging overnight. And so would there be any advantage for me to join it?
We've looked into that back and forth, and the vehicles that are charging on 110 they don't pull enough power that makes it advantageous for you or for us to create a program around it, or for you to install a secondary meter. It would take you a long time to make that money back for the dollars you're going to have to put in to install that secondary
that's what
meter,
I figured.
even at half price. So we don't do that with that piece of it. But I will tell you, we get a lot of questions from people that say, hey, what am I doing wrong here? And we're like, what are you talking about? I got this new EV, I plug it in my garage, and it says 36 hours. What's going on? Well, that's because you're in 110 and you have a vehicle that has a 100 kW battery. And, so it's just trying to figure out what's best in that education piece. But I think in your case, for what you're doing, you're already saving on the gas piece of it. But on a utility program, it wouldn't be worth it for you to install that secondary meter.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again for the question. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is we said that we have that 63% capture rate, which I come from a family of educators. So for me, 63% is still failing, even though other utilities are saying, no, that's great. But for me, it's still, there's still quite a few people out there that either don't know that we have a half price rate. Most of them that we're seeing in usage already have a level 2 installed. They just didn't install that secondary meter for whatever reason. They didn't know about our program. Their contractor didn't know about our program. Those kind of things are what we're seeing. So we're trying to find those non-enrolled EV members because we want to avoid that peak, that 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, somewhere in there, monthly peak of when it's hot, when it's cold, things like that. And help them save money. So what we've done is we have an internal data scientist, and he wrote a Python script. Now, I can't tell you what a Python script is. That's just the words he told me. But he's the one that runs the data. He does those things. And what he's done is he's been able to load patterns of charging for members that we believe have EVs. And what we're seeing is that a lot of members who have those are already charging overnight. So the benefit for the co-op is already there. It's really the benefit to the member to charge for half the price. So what we're working on doing now is taking that membership and sending them an email and not saying, hey, we know you have an EV, you should be doing this, this, and this. We're not taking that approach. That's the big brother approach. And people just, that's not good for people, right? So what we're doing is we're reaching out to them and said, hey, do you got an EV? Are you thinking about getting one? Did you know we have this program? And if you already have a level 2 charger installed without this meter, we'll come install the meter for you at no charge. And so that will get members enrolled so where they can pay for half, pay half price on their kilowatt hours for what they're already doing. And so it's reducing that member charge cost and really keeping that cell phone mentality for overnight charging and offering help. And so we're having quite a few members that are reaching out to us or are responding back to us to say, hey, yeah, let's look into this. HOAs are kind of an issue when it comes to installing that secondary meter. So we're trying to find a workaround on that, working with some communities to figure out, is there a better option? But as of right now, the secondary meter, I would love to get away from. But then that would be us as a co-op buying data from Tesla, from Zeph, from ChargePoint, and Blink, and all these other EV charging companies that make these chargers to try to figure out how to bill our members. And for that, billing grade meters are not what is built into these chargers. And so we take great pride in making sure that the bills that we send our members are correct. And it just would be a big chaos piece that we wouldn't be able to withhold that. And so we haven't done that yet. And we're not going to ever force our members to buy one brand of charger or switch their charger to one brand because we're going to build a program around one brand. We're not going to do that either because that's not good for our member. And so it's just offering to install the secondary meter, take some of the guesswork out of it and some of the hardship out of it, and move it forward. And to show you kind of what we're trying to do. So this is a sample. This is one that wasn't charging overnight. This is an actual member load profile that we've seen. And so as you can see there where those arrows start, they started charging at 6 o'clock. Right when they got home, plugged in, started charging. They started tailing off pretty much at around the 9 o'clock hour. So right then that 6 to 8 time was during the peak. So those kilowatt hours, while that member paid 13 cents for those kilowatt hours, we as a co-op purchased that power for $118 a kilowatt hour. So we can't charge our member that $118. We have to figure out how to make it work with a whole load of 150,000 members to absorb that cost, to still not raise our rates and do things. So moving that peak over is really where we can get it back down to where it's affordable for our membership and moving forward in the right direction. And having that education piece of this is why you don't want to go to a full charge at 6 o'clock, because that's when it's most expensive for us. But as you can see there, that's 12 kW. So that is a full level 2 charger installed, not on our program. And it is when energy is the most expensive for the co-op piece. So shifting that load is what we're trying to do here. Okay. Another piece is this EV technology and advancement. So what's next? Ford has these chargers that are bi-directional. So you can plug into it. If a storm comes through, you can plug your vehicle into it and hit a switch, and it pushes the power back into your home like a generator would. These are really cool pieces of machinery, great technology. More and more, Chevrolet says they're going to have it for their Silverado that's coming out, as well as GMC for their Sierra. So we'll see how that goes. And the Cybertruck is saying it's going to do the same thing. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the Ford bidirectional charger because we're commercial in Ford's eyes. But we did order some Ford Lightnings for our co-op. So, put our money where our mouth is, right? We have to understand how these work and how to use them out on the job. So we're doing that today. But we have a couple of contractors, electrical contractors, that have Ford Lightnings, and they have this grid technology in their homes. And so they're partnering with us to help show us how they use it, how it's wired, and then also how we can mark our transformers to know that this piece of equipment is in the home, because it's just like a generator, and we want to make sure there's no backfeed of electricity in the case of an outage that harms one of our employees. So it's trying to figure out the best way to go about it. And we're playing with the technology to try to say what is the best way to do it. The other thing, like with generators or solar, if you wanted to put electricity back on the grid, we would pay you for that. We haven't developed the program yet, but it's something we're working on and trying to figure out how do we do it, how does it work, and how is it right for our membership. But it is at least got us thinking as to what's next, how it's going to go in this technology advancement that electric vehicles are bringing us. And so with that, that's really where we are in terms of solar and electric vehicles. And again, Conexus, we've over-engineered a lot of our lines to where the advanced load on transformers and things like that is not a concern for us as of today. Now, if we had an influx of 30,000 EVs come tomorrow, we may have some issues. One of the other pieces that we have going on new technology wise in our territory is we have an Amazon facility that's being built with plans for 160 Rivian vehicles that'll be full electric delivery vehicles. So it'll be our biggest fleet that we have that is electrified, and they are partnering, Amazon is partnering directly with us to help understand how they use it for their business practices, charging at different times and allotments depending on the parking lot. Like this part would go at 11, this part at 12, and this part at 2, and then everybody's ready to go by 6, things like that. So we are working with Amazon, which is really exciting because that's a huge company with a lot of technology, and you know, it's right here in our backyard. So, you know, people say, well, your territory is kind of rural. Yeah, but we have a lot of smart people here, and we have a lot of people that are really into this technology piece. And so having Amazon here will be a lot of fun to learn, and the partnership has been really, really great so far. So that facility should open up in August, and they are planning to have a full fleet of electric vehicles by November. So so we'll see how all that goes. I know Rivian's kind of been behind the 8 ball in terms of delivering vehicles, so they're aware of that. They've made us aware of that, but we're working together to understand how it all works. So with that, Doug, I flew through everything, but there's my contact information if anybody has any questions that come up or something that jarred your memory or put a light bulb on, as a good electricity joke, that you want to reach out to me. More than welcome. If I don't have the answer, again, we have engineers, we have all these people that I work with at Conexus that I can find answers to questions that you may have. So with that,
Justin,
yes,
just
sir.
out of curiosity, that Amazon system, so what level charger will that be they'll use?
That's a good question. So when they first started talking to us, they were going to put in 13 DC fast chargers, which is massive. And now they're going to put in 2 DC fast chargers as emergency backup in case one of them doesn't click, but everything else is going to be level 2 overnight charging. And as of right now, the system that they're looking at, they're 15 kW, not shared. So it'll be 15 kW for each vehicle. So they have that estimated that the full charge will take roughly 6 hours. And so,
Okay.
and the way they got their fleet is they have their morning fleet and then their afternoon fleet, not the same vehicles. So that was one of the things that we were running into with planning for electric school buses. You know, some of these rural routes run more miles than really what it has, especially if it's running twice a day. And there's not enough time in between the 2 route times to fully charge a bus. And so for our territory in the electric school bus world, it just, there's not a viable solution just yet.
What about storage? Will they put in storage at their facility?
So that is another thing that they are planning to do. We're still having some issues on the battery piece of getting them. The whole supply chain is still affecting us in transformers and batteries and those things. So they are planning to do a storage piece. They haven't decided yet if they're going to do a solar storage or if they're just going to do a storage and fill up these batteries overnight to push out the power when it's more expensive.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to see what they decide to do on that.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm Chris Berta.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. It's just a general question about your model and how you describe how you left GRE, and it's, you know, mutual agreement, you buy from them, whatever, and the reason why. Well, there are a lot of, we do a volunteer training for Eco Experience coming up on the 16th of August. A lot of questions. There are a lot of people in the audience who belong to co-ops like GRE, who want more solar and can't. So they've met their limit, like you have.
Absolutely.
How, is there a way, do you educate? I mean, do you get together with other co-op members and strategize or counsel, advise them on how they can basically work out a model like yours?
Yeah, so when we first started this, we kind of did a tour of the GRE co-ops. And the reason I say that is because for us to leave the ownership piece of GRE, it had to be voted on by their board. And we are one seat on their board of 28 represented member co-ops. And so we had to explain the reasonings to all of them as to here's why we're leaving, and here's what we feel that we can do that's best for our members. And ultimately that message was conveyed and they understood it. And with the size that Conexus is, we were able to still be a big part of what GRE does because we're still buying power from them. And we're still 30% of everything they do today is still being sold to Conexus Energy, just like it was. It's just at a different price because we are not paying for the other pieces that GRE gave in terms of marketing support and things like that, that connects us because of our size. We didn't need because we already have our own marketing teams and things like that. So they offer a whole lot of great benefits for their member co-ops that Conexus just really couldn't take advantage of because the size that we are, we already kind of passed that piece.
All right. All right, like Lake Region Electric Co-op, you know, they've tried, you know, they've maxed out pretty much, and they run, they have storage,
Right.
You know, basically it looks like they try to dump some of their energy in order to stay within the range that production range. It's just seems kind of backward.
Right, I agree. And I think for us, we're also members of MREA, so the Minnesota Rural Electric Co-op or Association. And so we were at a meeting just a couple of weeks ago with, and Lake Region was there in explaining some of these pieces. And we still get a lot of questions because it's not something that's very common in our industry that someone would leave a G&T, the co-op world, those kind of things. And still, I mean, there were a lot of questions. You leave a G&T, you're not part of that co-op. Are you still a co-op? And, you know, of course we are. Our members still own us. I answer to our membership. Our board is still going to be comprised of just members voted on by our membership, those kind of things. So it's, and the other good thing about it is on January 1st, 2023, the lights did not go out. They stayed shining. Everyone still had power. And so, so far it's worked. We are saving our members money each year. And as we get through the rest of the year, you know, this project that we've been doing is paying off for our membership. So that's been really, really good.
One more question. So
Yes, ma'am.
did you, before you left GRE, did you already have your solar and your storage fields already set?
Yes, we did. We did. And we brought on an extra 7 megawatts in 2022 between 2 fields, one in Princeton, one in Athens, that are both on a rotating axis. And so we already had those brought on, and that got us right at the limit that was imposed. And so that was the other thing is like, you know, instead of buying it for this amount out of a KWH, we can produce it for this and then continue that process. So it really, for us, it was a way for us to really expand that solar piece of it, create these solar RECs that are good for our members as well, and provide electricity for a better price. That's really
so you
what it comes down to.
basically were all set to go, flip the switch when you left.
Yes, ma'am.
And, not all co-ops would be probably able to do that.
Right. This was at least 2 years in the works of planning to make this work. Absolutely.
And you have different contractors, you build your solar,
We do. We bid it out. We bid it out as we should with any of our large projects like
Okay.
that. And we don't always go for the cheapest. We go for, you know, one that's gonna do what we feel is best and what's needed.
all right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Justin, if I remember right, the people that own your storage and your solar are different companies. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yep. We have partnerships with different companies that make it work together.
Okay. Another question I had is, out of your renewable energy that you guys are providing, how much is solar and how much is wind as a percentage?
Well, right now we're at about a 38% total that's renewable. And of that percentage, 12% of it is solar. So quick math. That means the other rest of it is wind that we're purchasing through the GRE system right now.
Okay.
That has wind fields in Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, and some in Minnesota.
Okay. Do you guys, you don't see yourself, investing in wind or anything as a company, or do you?
Well, we don't know. I mean, right now we're exploring all options, and we're not going to mark anything off the list if it creates good, solid, renewable energy that we can cash in on. That's better for our membership. We're not going to take anything out. I mean, people have even said, "Oh, are you guys going to be able to build a nuke plant?" Well, our answer isn't a hard no. We don't know. I mean, it's something that we're exploring all the way across as to, figure out what's best for our members and how we keep the costs down. I will say that we did have a price increase because of inflation, which I think everybody else did too. But we had a 2.5% increase in rates for 23. Before that, so in 2022, the rates were still the 2017 rates. We had 5 years of no rate increase whatsoever for our residential members. And actually in 21, our small commercial rate went down 1%. So we've been able to do things like that based on figuring out how to get the best quality energy for our members with renewables included at the best price. And we feel that we're making moves and leaving GRE, and right now that we're still on that track to be able to save our members money.
Do you see a major challenge ahead for you guys to meet the new 2040 renewal or clean energy?
The 2040 no carbon rule.
Yeah.
That's going to be difficult for everybody. As it sits today, my personal opinion on it is that it's not feasible for anyone. And so we are going to try our best to do everything we can to meet the rules and regulations that have been set forth. Minnesota's 2040 rule is the most strenuous rule that's out there as of right now, even more than California's, when it comes to what the total carbon piece and zero carbon emissions piece is. Is it a great plan? I think the idea of it is, but the feasibility of technology and means to get there is very much lacking. And so, we're gonna do everything we can to get there, and work with partnerships and do all those things. But the biggest piece of it is we provide power to our members who own us, and we have to do what's best for them.
One of the ways it sounds like that they're thinking that organizations can do it is whatever they can't produce, they can buy RECs. And so do you see that one as feasible, or?
Well, that adds a cost.
Yeah.
And it adds a cost for a certificate that's not providing power. And that's the reason I don't love that idea.
Yeah.
We produce RECs. So in that case, we would be able to use those RECs for that purpose. But then that also takes away the option for our members that have sustainability goals that they're meeting today with solar RECs. That takes away some of that ability. Now, as we expand,
are you saying RECs or rent? What are you saying?
RECs, RECS. It's renewable energy credits.
Oh, I see.
And we generate those by generating solar power. We generate RECs, so those renewable energy credits. And today, as a nonprofit, we don't have to offset anything, so we don't use them for anything other than selling them to our members to offset their power to be 100% green energy.
Yeah, okay.
Are you going to, in anticipation of the 2040 rule though, might you get your co-op members on board for building more transmission lines to sort of meet that need as you can, I don't know, what comes first?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I don't know that I am not one that's part of those discussions on the whole transmission lines. I mean, I know GRE's transmission line from North Dakota is fairly new and fairly upgraded. So that's helpful. But that also goes directly to a coal power plant that GRE just sold. And so it's, trying to figure out where their mix comes from. Where we're buying electricity now is not just GRE, we're buying it in the open market through MISO, the MISO market, which is the Midwest piece. And so it's almost like stock trading. We have buyers, we have sellers, and we're watching the commodity pricing to make sure that we're hedging and getting ready for summer and the different areas that we're going to need electricity and pre-buying it before it's even needed or generated. So it's a whole different look and aspect of this industry and how we provide electricity to our members, instead of it just coming from the plant and going to the homes.
Yeah.
It's a whole different process that's been fun for us to learn and to battle with and kind of go through it. And it's been exciting. And as of right now, we're prepared for the full summer. We've hedged all of our options there and we're ready to go. And we were able to purchase it at a much less value than what we anticipated, which was good. And so, yeah, it's power's working and lights are coming on. So we're good there.
Barbara, go ahead.
And nuclear energy, do you generate any, or are you buying nuclear produced energy from anyone?
So as of right now, we don't generate any of the nuclear power at all. We don't have a facility that we own or are in partnership with. Could maybe one day. There is a very small percentage that of the power that we purchase does come from nuclear power. And that right now, again, in my opinion, is some of the most economical, best energy that we can develop right now. It's very, very cheap to do. And it's the same kilowatt hour that comes through from solar or from wind, except, just coming from a nuclear site. So but a very, very small percentage.
I didn't really read it, but in the Star Tribune, about how nuclear factors in the energy supply for the future years in Minnesota, and is it really, it's aging, so is it really reliable, or I don't know, can we count on it?
Right. Well, and that's something we hope for, right? As of today, it is one of the most efficient ways to develop and to create energy. And so for that, we'll use it for what we can use it for. I think with us on the renewable side, we still are strong believers in solar. God gave us a gift to use in the sun, and let's turn it into something positive. And so we're still going to be developing solar sites. And because we have found that for us is a great way for us to generate electricity at a great price for our membership. So solar is going to be a much bigger piece of the puzzle for us for self-generation. What we do in the future in terms of partnering with a new company or even a wind company, I don't have those answers today, but it is something that is on the table that we will be in discussions for as we move forward and grow.
So for nights and when there isn't cloudy, you've contracted with other people to supply your needs.
Yes, that's correct.
Justin.
This is John Dunlop. Do you have any specific
Hi, John.
programs? Hi, for providing EV charging in multi-unit dwellings or cooperatives?
Oh, John, that's been a tough one. Multifamily housing has been something we've been trying to crack the shell on to figure out what's the best option. With not having a whole building full of EVs, there's this whole where you're doing this, you're spending this money on just 3 people. And then it's like, okay, well, do you give them a parking spot and make them pay for the charger and things? And then how do you do the reading, and how do you do the secondary meter and all these different things, and who pays for it? We haven't had a lot of success, honestly. And that is something we're trying to figure out partnerships with either contractors or installer companies. There's some guys out there that they're installing it themselves, and then they're charging the end user, their tenant, for it, and that's working. But I still don't think those members are getting the best price that they could. And so it is something we're exploring as new developments are coming up in terms of new buildings for multi-housing. We're asking these contractors to go ahead and install lines so we can put these chargers in. And I'll tell you this too, we're doing I see a thumbs up, I appreciate that. We're also doing a pilot program today with Lennar. So Lennar Home Builders, largest home builder in the whole country, they are putting in a couple of new developments in our territory. We went to Lennar and we said, what if we gave you the secondary meter box? When you build the house, you install it. So it's already there. You rough it in, and then we give you a sticker that goes in the garage and on the meter that says future EV circuit. So they've started doing that. We got 46 of them installed. Houses aren't completely done yet, but the first one just sold 3 weeks ago. Guy had a Chevy Volt. He installed his meter. It was already there. He's on the program. It's ready to go. It just makes it easy. And as we keep expanding and seeing EV growth, for us, it made sense to invest those dollars into putting that secondary meter, because that is an expense to us, but it made it easier for the member who buys that home to be ready to go right off the bat. And so we're not installing a charger there. We're not doing in those. We're just roughing in the pieces to the puzzle to where they can make it happen and go that direction for when they move into that brand new home and have an EV. So that's one of the things we're doing. And we're looking at doing the same thing with the multi-housing pieces.
Justin, on the solar, as you sounded like you guys were going to be adding more solar, would that be new solar locations or adding to existing fields, or both?
A little bit of both. More is going to be on new solar locations throughout our territory. We have farmers that have fields, and for whatever reason, they're not going to continue farming, or their kids aren't, or their grandkids aren't, or whatever it is, and they don't want to lose their land. So we would go into a lease option with those farmers. We wouldn't buy the land directly from them. We would lease it from them, so they would still own it, and go that route. And so and that would still be a pollinator friendly project that we would do, as with the rest of our projects that we've done.
Yeah, great. Any other questions from anybody? Your presentation obviously has been very good, because we
Thank
got limited questions, so you covered the topic well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the time. I appreciate the time to go over this, to share Connexus's view and vision. And again, my contact information is there. If anybody has a question that you want to email me about or call, if I don't answer, please leave me a message, and I'll get back to you and see if I can get an answer for you, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the questions.
Another
Yes,
thing
Doc.
I just want to add before we end, the MRES members will go over to a board meeting now in a little while, but I also wanted to give a plug for the speaker next month. We've got a gentleman from Department of Commerce who was very involved in the IRA and things like that, speaking next month. So some of the questions we all have about how that's going to affect everything, hopefully we can get Pete Wyckoff is his name. He's he's in the leadership position at the Commerce, and so it should be a really good talk. So all of you, thank you so much for attending, especially on a beautiful night like this. And Justin, thank you so much for taking your time, and great presentation. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yep. See y'all. Bye-bye.